What is up, comic fam? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark. I'm joined by my good friend Ryan and Chris. It is at Weeks In, episode 30-something. This thing is chugging right along, having a blast, spending the end of every weekend, going back and looking at everything that dropped this week, comics, movies, shows, more, and just breaking it down, spoiling the hell out of it, having a blast, just dissecting it and hanging out with everybody who's able to join us in the chat. So before we get into doing all of that, check this out. Alrighty, so if you haven't already, be sure to consider to like and subscribe to all three of our channels. I'm sure there's a kind, nice moderator somewhere in the chat that can definitely drop those links in there, as well as if you haven't already, be sure to check out that secondary Instagram page that I got going on. There's the name of it. It's loc.pops.attic. I don't know if it'll be in the description of this video because it's a live stream. I think I did take the time to put it in there, but if you're looking to buy any back issues or fill any holes, there's not any crazy keys or anything like that, but there's some great books in there. And if you're looking for anything in particular, feel free to message the page directly. So now that we're done with all of that, let's say hey to some people in the chat.
Cool.
I think it's in the
What's up, people in the chat?
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Well, now that we've said hey to all the people in the chat, we can get right on with this. What's going on, Ruby Guzman? How are you tonight? No, we cannot be more Legion. Freaky put on a show to end all shows last night with his Saturday Night Louie. It was so amazing. Those Jeopardy skits are some of my favorite in all of like Saturday Night Live history.
Oh,
yes, yep.
And he absolutely bottled the essence of them and then poured them all over himself when he made that episode. It was fantastic. And hearing how the whole family came together like butt cheeks to make it happen was just awesome. They definitely rocked together as a unit.
He got me at who is going out your mother's bedroom every morning?
Yeah. It's me, Trebek. It's me, Trebek. It was so awesome.
That would kill me. I was like, oh my God, so good.
He puts a lot of effort into those, man. I don't know how natural that is. Like for him to like take it and make it comic oriented as well on top of all that. And it actually works. You know, it was actually hitting. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And the editing skills to pull that off.
And I still have Bring It On Down to Comicville. That's like still stuck in my head.
Justin Timberlake skit. What is going on, Remy Q Studios? We got Slotted Up 503 in here. Just finished another great episode of Rigged. And Dale of Suspense is all up in here. He's all up in this chat. All over it, and he is in suspense. We got the
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. We got Jonathan Michael up in here, another member of the Burke fam. What's going on, brother? Digger Jim, dude, he posted an awesome video for some of his local. I think it was a con that he went to, and there were some really cool art prints that he scored as well. You know, people always posting cool books, but there were some awesome art prints. There's this Godzilla one that was just. Wow. Then we got the one, the only Pocan Joe is up in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by. Alex from Tapia's Family Unlimited Comics. Big Time Collectibles is up in here. What? What's going on, Nelson?
Ooh.
If it is Nelson running his own account. Dude, that's awesome because I don't know if he's watched my videos before, but I pumped the hell out of his store.
It's true.
Look, this is an arm's reach, my guy. Like, big supporter of Comic Shield. Just ask this guy down here. We've literally taken one of these and we have passed it back and forth, A-OK, and books to each other numerous times. We've put this thing through the ringer. Comic Shields. We need an official Comic Shields.
Checks in the mail, boys.
Yeah, checks in the mail. No, but he runs a tight ship there. He's his shop single-handedly responsible for introducing me to John Jang's artwork, and y'all know how that's been since then. So that was it after that. But yeah,
Is
that's awesome.
shipping
Appreciate
driving you
stopping by.
crazy?
Yeah. Is USPS too rough with your mail? Running out of tape on a regular basis? Try Comic Shields. These things are fantastic. I love them to death. No better thing to ship comics in, for real. And he works with Miko Suyon and he works with John Jang. Like, he has like top tier stable artists that are just pumping out gorgeous content. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like, look, I could just pull BTC merchandise from all around me. Like, it's fantastic. And this one's BTC as well. This one back here, like, it's just, yeah. I don't buy a lot of exclusives from a lot of different stores. I mean, I chase Jang books, but I get it. Probably the majority of my exclusives come from there. What is that? Comic-Cane, not to be confused with Comic-Cade. What is going on? Glad you could make it. Appreciate you stopping by. Blue Hellion Comics is up in here. Appreciate you coming in, Dan. And there he is. Austin LeMay heading to dinner, but wanted to say hey to the crew. Well, I'm glad you did say hey to the crew because, you know, we sit on this all day waiting to hit that. Bam. Austin over Peach hashtag. So we had a few people jumping in early on.
It's a very cool shirt, Comic Cane.
It is. If you want, he will stand up, take his headphones off.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's this guy that goes around all. We're not messing with you, Kane. There's this guy that goes around all the chats, and it's like a copy pasted comment that he asks everyone to stand up and take their headphones off and remove their mic, big screen themselves, and show just their shirt where you cannot see their face anymore. It's almost like he's trying to get a screen grab of the images, like Ryan pointed out, to get the sweatshop to work.
Comic King, guys, is someone who I point your direction of who takes pictures of flowers. So I'm
awesome.
sure you, right.
Yeah, he does
I'm sure
some
you
really
get
cool photography stuff.
Don't worry, guys. I came back.
okay.
Yeah, he does some really cool photography stuff. I appreciate you dropping in and checking out the channel. What is going on, Scott? Scott asked us to tell you hello, but the telephone wires and internet, it's hard to reach that far north, Chris.
Okay.
So he told us to pass the message around.
Savage.
Savage is Chip Gettler with the Austin on top of Peach.
There's that Segway diploma paying off, everybody.
Dude, look at that. He's changed up his logo where now his design on his icon is white. Instead of it being black,
right?
The white shadow is officially white, finally. Look,
actually kind of looks like a superhero logo.
Yeah.
It does.
We watched The Shadow, the 90s Shadow movie that they did with
Alec Baldwin.
Fantastic movie. Love it to death. And because I picked up a book here recently, which I'll probably show off tonight, but it made me just want to watch the movie again. And I went back to my collection and noticed I was missing it, but luckily it's on one of the many streaming services out there. It's on HBO Max. So when I said I'm turning on The Shadow, the first thing Finn said is the white shadow. I'm like, no, just the shadow.
Just the shadow.
Just the shadow.
Chip, you're gonna have to go trademark that before someone gobbles it up, man.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you get your hands around that.
Freaky Louie down here.
Brian Scott, what's going on? I believe it's hey guy.
Hey guy.
Hey
guy.
Buddy guy.
Hey guy. Or bonjour. Either is acceptable.
All right, so I think we made it through the chat. I'm pretty sure we did a fairly sufficient job at it. If I missed anybody, I do apologize. I only say that because it's polite. I do not mean it. And let's see. So it was a decent week for comics. It definitely wasn't nearly as big. It's not nearly as big as the past previous weeks, but there were some good books that came out this week. And before we even get into all that, any news that stands out at y'all? Anything that caught your attention this week that you heard? Any info drops?
I know we spoke about it briefly before, but the Sam and Twitch news coming out of Todd McFarlane's world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sam and Twitch being optioned somehow to Hollywood. Not sure if they're getting a mini series or a TV show or a streaming series or whatever, but I know Sam and Twitch has had their own individual comics previously, limited series, and that they are a pair of characters that those who are loyal to Todd McFarlane's Spawn and the Spawn universe, thoroughly enjoy. So I'm interested. I'll be honest, I'm interested. I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm sure Todd McFarlane is going to be having Easter eggs galore all over that series if it does make it to air. So, yeah, that's one that pops out at me, the Sam and Twitch news.
Yeah. So hopefully they do something decent with it. Yeah, the last time we've got anything spawned outside of comics, it was just the HBO animated show, which was fantastic, and then they
Epic.
had the
Epic.
live action film that for its time was just really just a flex on special effects at the time, and just with the cape, a lot
Just
of the
with
rest
cape.
of it was bad.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. It was a good B movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it still to this day, but it's just really the stuff that takes place in hell with Malbolgia and stuff. It was definitely rough, even for its time. I think I don't know.
Right.
Well, that was a time period where a lot of stuff looked bad because they were all trying to figure CGI out.
All trying to copy what Cameron was doing. Let's be honest. After Terminator 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, even Terminator 2, he was still being very old school with the way that he filmed things. He would literally film something happening. He would project it on a big screen and have people acting in front of the big screen. It was very, very old school shot. A lot of wire work, like the whole motorcycle jumps and stuff, just craning wires. And
it still stands up today, in my opinion, though. Great movie.
Like all the CGI that they did use for like T-1000 and stuff, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on, Robert? Flash 6792. Happy to say that I got 2, 4, 6, 8, either 8 or 9. I'm not good with numbers, but 8 or 9 packages boxed up, getting ready to ship out this week. But they're all packaged. They all got labels on them. I just need one address from Kidrano Prints, and they'll be 100% ready to ride. But all the AOKs and all the giveaways and everything from the past couple of weeks, they finally got caught up on that. But I did have to sacrifice some reading time to do it, so it was totally worth it. So what do I want to get into first? I want to talk of some of these books. I want to talk Loki, save Loki for the end.
I'm good with talking Loki now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I watched it a couple times. The second time, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it more because the one thing I didn't pick up on the first time, basically because I was trying to keep up with the whole the whole backbone of time. The one thing I thoroughly enjoyed watching it the second time was whomever the director was really, in my opinion, had the late 60s, early 70s Stanley Kubrick type of filming in mind. If you can remember the scene where Mobius takes Loki into the film room, essentially to show him the film of his life, everything is in focus, and it's very 60s and 70s. It has a very 60s and 70s type of feel with the backdrop and the lighting and everything. And specifically how everything was totally in focus all at the same time at different depths. To me, that's pure Kubrick. So I'm not sure if the director had that in mind or wanted to give a nod towards, a 2001 Space Odyssey or The Shining, because The Shining has a lot of those big panning shots where everything is still in focus, whether it was the ballroom or the staircase in the hotel with The Shining. And it's the one thing I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, I paused it to actually to take a look, and like, this is what's happening here. This is very Kubrick-like, especially with the lighting where the director had Loki directly underneath spotlights when he stood up and he was speaking to Mobius. All in the film room, of course, is what I'm talking about. And then also the scene where Loki stops and Mobius stops with him, and they're looking out at the city of where they are inside the TVA, if you want to call it a city. And that really reminded me of 2001: A Space Odyssey, when with the backdrops, you can tell that okay, it is kind of science fiction. It is not quite, it's not as crystal clear as what, say, Star Wars, the Anakin trilogy would be, where everything is just crystal clear and with the red backdrop for the sky. But to me, it really had that 2001 feel to it. Now, I know, Ryan, that you've watched some Kubrick stuff, but did you get that feeling at all, or am I off by myself? And Mark, okay, Mark, yeah.
I got like every Kubrick movie over there.
Yeah, I thoroughly believe he's the best director of our time.
Yeah, he filmed the moon landing, right?
You don't get much better than that.
That's an American thing. I don't want nothing to do with it.
No, I really enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily make the Kubrick connection, but there was definitely like whenever they showed the like the city, like that scene you were talking about, like that one really stood out in my mind. Probably my favorite scene in the movie, just because it was so cool the way it unfolds, and yeah, like it has like this clarity, but it also is kind of like just like sweeping, and vast, and it's a scene worth taking in. I love how they paced everything because they really gave you time to linger on moments that really meant something. Like in front of the window, with the magical Mephisto pane, like that scene, the way that it's like shot and everything's like lined up. Like I thought this episode just had like a lot of artistic it had a lot of artistic value, but it also had like mass market appeal too, It's something that works on so many different levels. So I thought that was really cool that they were able to kind of like cross all of those boundaries.
I think it was
that scene where he looks out over the TVA was one that I pointed out as well that I liked, in the sense that you have Loki, who's a god, he feels that he's done seen it all, and he knows that his magic doesn't work here, and people look at him and what he does and considers it to be something so incapable of understanding that it has to be sorcery or magic, and they're in Asgard it's just life, but to us little peasants it's magic, it's so much more. And when he looks out over the landscape of the TBA, his first response was, I thought you said there was no magic here. So it puts him in a completely helpless peasant mode, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I thoroughly believe that this was the best introduction episode to any of the Marvel TV series that we've had with the three of them so far. I thought this was the best one by far.
Yeah,
by
I
far.
Loved it.
Yeah. And it was just very well done. It had that great touch of comedy through the first bit when Loki arrives at the TVA and he's essentially just dropping level by level by level and questioning himself, am I actually a robot? I thought that was priceless.
What if I am a robot? Yeah, it was well balanced in the sense of like the comedy in there, to make it where it's not too heavy. But they were dealing with a lot of heavy moments, and I thought it was. I feel like they broke him like right out of the gate. One episode in. First off, what's up, wheelchair superhero? Glad you can make it.
I thought it was a really nice reprieve from the Marvel humor, like every Marvel movie, even WandaVision and especially Falcon and Winter Soldier had that Marvel sense of humor to it. And this was a lot heavier. And while there was still like comedic moments, it just wasn't like so thoroughly drenched in it that it felt like a comedy, It gave gravity to the situation.
Yeah, I thought it was no, we didn't. The Stan Lee cameo on the wall, I did not.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I agree, Digger Jim. Owen Wilson did do a great job. He was definitely playing himself, but he kept himself in check. They didn't lean too heavy into it. And the fact that
it was Owen Wilson on rails.
Yeah, the fact that he was so constant even played into like the interrogation itself. He never let Loki's antics or what Loki was saying or doing get it to him. He just, that constant is what eventually like broke Loki, getting that zero response for your actions, and just anything Loki says, just agreeing with him and then questioning it, Yeah, you're right. Why do you do that? Oh yeah, you are the god of mischief. What does that mean for you? Like just kind of slowly just diving deeper and deeper into him. He did not relent. It was fantastic. And by the end of it, you got Loki sitting there, no collar on, not fighting, not going anywhere, just completely lost and broken, knowing, and I guess just believing in the situation that he's finally seen what his actions do. He caused his mom's death inadvertently. His actions lead to his inevitable death at the hands of Thanos, somebody who was lacking for in the first phase, So nothing that he attempted to do ever worked out in his favor, just leads to death.
I saw it a different way, guys. At the end where he appears to be broken, I thought he was lying through his teeth. It was just 100% lies. And what I thought was, he's now seen his own demise. He's seen his mother's demise. And now that if he plays
Wow.
along with this, he might be able to go a
Wow.
different avenue and turn his life in a different direction, not necessarily for the better, but just to escape the hands of Thanos and save his mother. I thought it was okay. I'm going to play this game and I'm going to lie through my teeth because that's what Loki does. Let's be honest. But we'll find out in the end.
I think he's going to always attempt to have something in his back pocket, as he always does.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I legitimately think that he got hit right in the feels, or he wouldn't have in his own free time. We the viewers are watching him, but nobody else inside of his reality. You know what I mean? No one else saw him go back into that room, opposed to running any farther and go back and look at his mother. You know what I mean? That was him and his lonely. It hit him. So I mean, of course he's going to be the god of mischief. It's what he does. But I felt like there was definitely an emotional moment that doesn't happen too often for that character so far of what we've seen.
But yeah, I thought Tom Hiddleston again gave us a very good performance. I said it before and I'll say again, I thought Tom Hiddleston is the best actor in the entire MCU. They got themselves a coup when they landed him. And again, the DB like the DB Cooper scene. Yeah, that was terrific too,
Yeah.
Film. He was never in a straight shot. It was always angled, whether he's up or down looking at the character. I thought that was terrific. And the part where he's literally walking off the tail of the plane, he mentions Thor and Heimdall, hoping that it works out for him and he's just going to jump. And, then the Rainbow Bridge went and got him. So, yeah, I thought it was just a great start. Something that I think, collectively we can all agree Marvel needed to do out of the chute with this particular series.
Yeah, that the worker, the officer, the variant, whatever she is, that was
Minuteman.
chasing after him. Yeah, the Minuteman that was chasing after him with a little boomstick.
Yeah.
She was relentless, and that was pretty funny. She was in Lovecraft Country on HBO Max when it first
Oh, really?
came out, which was a fantastic show. And the main actor from HBO from Lovecraft Country is supposed to be Kang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how about the flashback cartoon sequence?
Right,
That
with Kang the
so
Conqueror.
well done.
Yes.
That was really well done. But just the animation style itself, and
again, pure 60s and 60s and 70s. Yeah.
And it was funny when the people like it kind of just floats into the back of your mind, but they explained that everybody from the Time Variant Authority was made by the Timekeepers, made by them for this purpose. So when you get there, and Loki goes to threaten somebody, I'm going to gut you like a fish. What's a fish? They have no experiences outside of here for most of them.
Yeah. The Infinity Stones are just paperweights.
Yeah, mean nothing. Which I think is a cool way to get us past that. We're past the Infinity Saga, moving forward. So now they're kind of playing light of it in this sense. Let's get on to the next big bad thing, and let's forget about trying to reference it, or let's go find an Infinity Stone to stop this threat or that threat. Just pushing them to the back burner, which was a smart move.
But yeah, you can definitely see just from the cartoon that Loki watches how they're setting up the Doctor Strange film, The Multiverse of Madness, where essentially they I believe it's Tara Strong that's actually the voiceover actor for that, mentions that that the multiverses or the universes were at war with each other and the timelines were at war with each other, and she actually references the word madness. So it's all going to come together. So I'm just thinking Loki's going to blow this whole thing up, and Doctor Strange is eventually going to have to put it all back together again.
What's going on, Soul Twice? Glad you can make it, brother. Did you watch Loki, Soul Twice? Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the show. Seems like the majority of people overall have liked it. As Chris said, this was probably the strongest first episode to the 3 MCU shows that we've gotten. I don't know why it came out that way. If it's just the content, if it's the character Loki. We've had him since day one.
Yeah.
He was like, the third movie? Because we had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Thor. So Loki's been rocking since phase 1. He's been an intricate character. He's the big villain in the first Avengers. We've just seen so much character development through him. And now we're throwing back to an earlier time, to that raw Loki from the beginning, and we get to develop him in a different direction. So there's just so much sentimental attachment. MCU has been around for a while now. A lot of kids have grown up not knowing a movie universe without the MCU. It's always been a part of their life. So there's literal sentimental value to these characters. And I think Loki is the first one out of these shows that we really get that with, because Falcon, Winter Soldier, Phase 2 characters, Wanda, Vision, Phase 2 characters. This is the first one we're really deep diving back into the lore of the MCU itself. So it's pretty cool.
So essentially, we're
Yes.
with Loki's first episode. We're only a few hours after the Battle of New York, which takes place in the first Avengers movie, way back in Phase 1. Because
that was like total Inception, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were watching Avengers through Endgame through Loki.
Right. And
did the timelines like slow down with each layer though?
I don't think time could
just
be
don't
more
spin any
relevant.
tops, man. I don't want to know if I'm dreaming.
Yeah. I definitely thought the same thing when they first popped this up. Hi, I'm Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park. Yeah, that was awesome. I don't have Disney Plus. You guys need to buy more art for me so I can watch. Yeah, everyone should be buying art from Soul Twice. At this point, I've gotten numerous pieces. I've got 5 pieces from him. I've shown him off a few times.
Peacemaker, yes, sir.
So he does chibi art, you guys, as well as he stepped into the realm of portraits. That is a portrait, right?
Very nice.
Yes, I would believe so.
I did like the fact that they threw Kane the Conqueror in a few different scenes as Easter eggs. You know, he was the middle of the timekeepers in the cartoon, of the 3 timekeepers that were holding the stream of time. And then in the courtroom, there was the 3 heads of the timekeepers again, and Kane the Conqueror was there in the middle again. Basically, to me, it really looked like the actor from Lovecraft.
A bust.
Yeah, bust.
So that was a Green Ranger bust that he did. Got it. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't think that Kang's going to be that big of a deal since they're using him for an Ant-Man movie villain, which is weird to me. He's like that's literally an Avengers level villain,
right? Or Fantastic Four. Let's be honest. You know.
I didn't mean to lie to you, Chris. I'm sorry.
Let's be honest. He's everywhere.
Yeah. I don't really think they're going to use him. I don't think he's going to be the foil of Ant-Man, though. I think he's going to like show up at the end or something, and like I don't know, maybe Ant-Man gets like his butt kicked halfway through the movie or something, and has to go tell the Avengers like, "Yo, this thing is coming" or whatever, you know. But I don't think he's going to be an actual like villain of sorts in the movie.
You know, between the appearances we've gotten, like we got the little tease with WandaVision of her son dressed as Wiccan from the Young Avengers on Halloween. We've gotten, what is it, Iron Patriot or whatever his name, the little kid Captain America from Young Avengers, Isaiah Bradley's grandson that they went to his house. So we've gotten like 2 Young Avengers, and we know from the Young Avengers that Iron Lad, the little young Iron Man kid from the team, was really Kang the Conqueror in Future Tech armor. He wasn't, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
and Hawkeye's daughter is alive and well in the MCU, and she's a Young Avenger as well.
They built up the Young Avengers already. They've introduced us to enough to get a team. We started out with only 4 team members when it first started: Hulkling, Wiccan, Iron Lad, and whatever the Captain America kid's name was. Iron Patriot, Justice, who knows?
Ironheart?
Yeah.
No,
that's Riri, right? No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I'm blanking what his name was. What was the little kid Captain America's name in Young Avengers?
I thought Patriot was in the name as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It might just be the Patriot. I don't know. But he was just a little drug
Super
addict.
Patriot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like Super Pro.
That's even better.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh.
You guys got some books?
Louis says it's just Patriot.
Yeah.
Or Patriot as he spelled it.
Pederass.
What?
What did he call him?
Patriot.
Someone said something about Big Lebowski recently, so I've been thinking about that. He's a pederass, Donnie. 12-year-old boys. 12-year-old boys, Donnie.
Dude.
I love that movie, man. But yeah, I got a stack of books that have got me excited right now, and there wasn't really any reads this week that bummed me out. Chris, you want to burn through yours real quick? They're in your hand.
Sure, my man. I picked up Wonder Woman 773. Issue 68 of the franchise.
Was that a Chameleon Conspiracy or a Clone Saga tag on it?
That was part 2 of the Chameleon Conspiracy, where Jessica Parker continues to try and figure out what happened to her and Peter's parents. Web of Spider-Man #1. Seeing that this book is pretty popular in the last few days for spec reasons, and the bead cover as well. Iron Man #9, which is now off my pull list.
Hey, I dropped 2 this week.
Did you? Yeah,
I did,
great.
dude. I ripped the Band-Aid off. I actually
Yeah.
messaged Ryan, I think, and told him about it. So I told him, dude, I finally dropped Iron Man.
Yeah,
Told someone.
I didn't think anything could be worse than the slot run. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
This was fantastic, let me tell you. Issue 3 of Batman the Detective, where it kind of takes place in Paris. We'll talk about that later, of course. Detective Comics 1037. This is the Bermeo B cover. I think it's up there for cover of the week. Yeah, it's fantastic. Grant Morrison's issue 4, Proctor Valley Road. I picked up Cherry Blackbird as a recommendation from my LCS's owner. Let me tell you, this book is hardcore. It says 18 plus. My God, it was right off like page 1. No one under 18 should be reading that book. Issue 1 of Bunny Mask. I'm kind of on the fence about this one, and
Yeah.
I
can't imagine how anybody isn't. That book was so strange.
Yeah, the two picks from Two Cool Guys Who Got Picks last week. My pick, the DC pick, believe it or not, was issue 2 of Chip Zdarsky's Last Ride, Justice League's Last Ride. Excellent book. And my read of the week, which was Mark's hot pick, issue 3 of the What If Spider-Man Spider Shadow. Fantastic.
Zdarsky took over that list that week.
Yeah, Zdarsky had himself quite a good week.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan.
Boom.
Boom. Great cover.
Yeah.
Look at that smile on his face.
Yeah. Like
cover.
You think you got me.
I'm gonna need stronger rings than that.
We got the Joker, #4, cover A. Got that Detective, also a cover A. Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton.
Who's the publisher for that one?
Skybound.
Okay.
So Image. Yeah.
Very cool.
Image Skybound. We got Eve #2 with that Dan Mora cover.
That's a great cover.
They look just like the putties, like the ones they have now, with the
super putty with the green energy.
Yeah, like the super putties, the chaos putties or whatever. But it's a cool cover and story relevant, so that was kind of cool. I went ahead and grabbed the B on the Future State, Gotham. I really enjoyed. Well, yeah.
It's still a great cover though.
Yeah, I know, right? And then I grabbed a back issue Rye.
That's
because I love there's like a whole run of these covers, so
yeah,
I might try to collect all these. Well,
yeah,
I have no clue.
We'll see. Rise Zero from the early '90s has a great cover too. That's very reminiscent of that one.
Mac.
Donald.
Ronnie.
I don't know if anybody recognizes it.
I don't speak Sanskrit. It's hard to. That's wicked.
Yeah.
I don't recognize it.
It just says cover A on it, so I'll have to look it up.
Cover, the whole negative space thing. They used it well with that one.
Yeah, like there's a whole run of them, and it's all like the same thing, but he's in like different poses, and the way the like blood splatter kind of like comes off changes patterns with his pose, obviously.
That's wicked.
But
yeah, that's well done.
I thought it was pretty sweet, so I was like, let me grab that. And that's all I grabbed physically this week. I've actually read quite a few like surprises too, so we'll talk about those.
I did grab a cover B of Nice House because my LCS had the foresight to put in an order. Like they put in their initial order, and then they put in a late order as well. So he got everything that he got the week it came out that sold out like the day of. And then last Friday, he was opening boxes for DC and he's pulling these out. So I was able to go ahead and pick a B cover up, which I wasn't really caring about. I got that A cover, but after I read it, I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
gotta have that B cover also.
Yeah. Again, it ties into the story.
Yeah, it's a slick spoiler cover once you know. I got that Geiger #3 A cover, which is possibly the read of the week. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence still. I think that this was this week, wasn't it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got Mighty Morphin #8. It was better than they've been. Still got a long way to go to really sing its praises and recommend it to other people at this point. Spider-Man Spider Shadow #3. I'm gonna sing praises for the writing of this, but I'm gonna just destroy the artist tonight about this. Like I'm going hard on that jackass.
Pescal Fairy.
What book was that?
Spider Shadow. Such a well written book.
Oh.
Like there's not a worse book out there visually. There's just not just like we'll get into it. There's a lot to be said. Justice League: The Last Ride, which is the polar opposite. Fantastic story and glorious artwork. Consistent, strong,
Agreed.
Smooth panel work.
Crisp.
Great,
Crisp.
so crisp. And let me tell you, dude, there was like the perfect issue for character development and setting up moving forward from here. Like this was awesome.
You know what's funny though? Hold that cover up for a second again, Mark.
I could do that.
We're talking about the interiors that it's actually beautifully done. That is a horrible cover. That's
I like it.
It's cheese. That's like back page fodder. Come on. They couldn't go hire someone.
website.
Like, come on. Sadarsky himself could have drawn that cover.
I don't know. I think it's that Derek Robertson guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Well,
But to each their own.
It's got the Furies on there. Like his art style is almost like comic booky and comic-y. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
to me, it's just like who's the gentleman that's handling Beta Ray Bill? Is that Johnson that's doing Beta Ray Bill?
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson's doing
right. To me, it's a poor man's Daniel Warren Johnson. The art style for that cover, the interior is a different story, but that cover, I'm just not a fan of. It to me, it seems hurried.
Yeah, I don't know. It just looks bubbly and comic-y to me. Wouldn't want it on everything for sure. Definitely not the better of the two covers by any stretch of the imagination, but this cover is fantastic.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Contemplating if I should read it or just rip the pages out and just keep the cover.
But pin it up.
It's a horrible book. I haven't read the last 2 issues, so I'm 3 issues behind on this, and I dropped it off my pull list this week. I got that Joker #4, and of course I'm collecting those things.
Federici.
Yeah, I got that. Detective Comics, Future State Gotham cover A. Black Label's Rorschach issue #9, which was really good again, like consistently good. Consistent. Batman the Detective, issue #3 of 6, and I'm sad that we're already halfway through this because it is really good.
So good.
And then my LCS owner sent this book home with me and told me I should read it and let him know what I thought. And I actually read it all this morning. Like I woke up really early this morning, like earlier than normal. Read this whole thing, then went back to bed. It was good. It's Mark Huck. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this. I had never heard of it, but it was cool. It was really cool. And then, of course, I think this was from this week, wasn't it? Or was this last week? Batman Earth 1 Volume 3, the final volume of the Batman Earth 1 stuff from the dream team of Johns and Frank. I'm excited to read this. Hope it doesn't take me too long to get to it. But yeah.
Oh. There you go, Chip. David Mack.
I don't quite know. I think Louis, you're like 90% right. Captain America, he's been doing some Captain America book and the Immortal Hulk stuff. The Captain America book, for the most part, are okay, but the Immortal Hulk is fantastic.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk's been great. But at the time, Hulk wasn't selling big numbers, and they put him on it at the very beginning. So with a combination of trying to get people back on Hulk, and Al Ewing just happened to knock it out of the park. It isn't like that's what he does on everything he writes by a long shot. But We Only Find Them When They're Dead's been great also.
I sure hope he gets ASM, I'll be honest. Anyways.
What do y'all want to talk about first?
Well,
Hey.
Oh, okay.
Just a casual little hey.
Hey.
Hey. Hated it. Okay, so I'm sorry, I got to talk about this one.
What is that?
Okay.
This is Joseph Schmalke's Cherry Blackbird.
Okay.
It's from Black Caravan Comics. It's $3.99, and at the top left corner it says 18 plus mature content. Now, Mark, I know that your LCS streams or shows your channel, so I'm not going to show the interiors of this because it is pornographic.
Well, at that point, I'm not worried about my LCS. I'm worried about the video getting taken down.
Okay. It's He'll
be sharing them directly to his Instagram page after this stream, guys. If y'all want to go see Chris's top pick porn of the week, head on over to his Instagram page.
So Chip just perfectly described what happens in the first page. Just a quick synopsis of the book. It's about a band where the lead singer, her name is Cherry Blackbird, has sold her soul to the devil. She's 26 years old, and at 27, the infamous 27 Club, Satan is coming to collect. And it starts off with a couple is in bed, and the young man is basically begging his girlfriend for a toy to be put into his nether region. And as she's about to do the deed, Satan decides to come from hell, and he comes in through this young man's nether regions. So that is essentially the first 4 pages of this book is Satan coming from hell through a young man's bottom. And the story kind of picks up from there. I know what you're thinking. It's cheese, right? No, it's actually pretty good. So yeah, my porn pick of the week.
I feel like your LCS
sounds
really
like
trying to feel
Debbie
you out.
Does Dallas. No.
Your LCS owner is straight trying to feel you out on that one, brother.
It's but all kidding aside, it's actually a very interesting story. It's kind of reminiscent of the origin of the bride with Kill Bill, where the bride gets sent to Japan and she spends X amount of time with the master learning the ways of the sword. And with Cherry Blackbird, Satan gives her an out. He actually calls it a get out of hell free card. And what she has to do is go round up 6 people who have been possessed by demons that have escaped from hell, and he wants them round up and returned to hell. And if she can do this within 365 days before her 27th birthday, where at that point she'll become a part of the infamous 27 Club, she'll get to continue to live and keep her soul. Either way, she agrees, obviously, to do it because she doesn't want to die, even though she's been living a very hardcore lifestyle, drugs, sex, rock and roll. There's lots of drug use in this, lots of sex toys. Anyways, besides all that, it's actually a real greed. And after her new deal with the devil, one of her bandmates says, I happen to know someone who's dealt with the devil before, and he's a master of voodoo. So the part where I mentioned earlier where it's reminiscent of the bride going to Japan to learn her ways of the sword, it's very reminiscent where she goes and spends a few months out of this year that she has left to learn different ways of voodoo to try and take down the six possessed people that she has to help return to hell before her 27th birthday.
Y'all ever read Money Shot or picked up Money Shot? I think it's been out for a while or been coming out for a while, hasn't it? You gotta be up to like issue 8 or 12 or
I've
something.
heard of it.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
of it.
pretty far up there. It's been coming out since like 2018 or 2019.
But yeah, I actually recommend this book. If you guys or anyone who's watching sees this book in your LCS, pick it up. It's actually a pretty lighthearted, funny read. If you can get past the first 4 pages, of course. So yeah, Joseph Schmalke's Cherry Blackbird from Black Caravan Comics.
So you heard it from Chris first. If you're trying to teach your kids how to read, Cherry Blackbird's the book for you.
That's right. If they don't know how to read by 18, this is the book to teach them.
You know, your early synopsis there, depending on the tone, it sounds like it could be Cherry Blackbird or like a sequel to Little Nicky, where his daughter's like trying to take over Hale or something.
not quite as lighthearted.
Ryan, what do you got? What was something that stood out, a good read for you, a weird read for you, a pornographic read for you, whatever it is we're doing tonight?
I don't know how to follow that up.
Thank you. Good night. We are Legion.
Yeah,
right.
No segue on that one. Speaking
on
of
a more comedic tone.
Speaking of sex, I mean 6.
The 6 sidekicks of Buster Keaton. It's like a comedy. Or Trigger Keaton. Who's Buster Keaton?
Old comedy.
Am I making that up?
Old actor from the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. Or a new Tenacious D movie. Yeah, that sounds about right. This is basically set against the backdrop of like a TV show actor. And he's like the most prolific actor ever. He's more or less a Chuck Norris stereotype. He kind of like
the Marlboro Man.
Yeah. See, you got his headshot there. Yeah, he's like an old cowboy, but he's also like got all these like martial arts skills. Like he tells stories about when he was training in the, in the monasteries and stuff. And he's a TV actor, and like he's a prolific actor, and so they show across the years, he's worked on different shows, and so he has these 6 sidekicks. And they were all on different shows, and they're like different types of shows, So like the first show they kind of represent as like he's got like a child actor sidekick, but it's very like Chuck Norris-y, very Walker, Texas Ranger, And there's like a show where he's like like Smokey and the Bandit or something, So he's got like these different types of movies, but he's basically known as like the least likable person ever. Like in the opening scenes, he just like kicks a stuntman because he basically doesn't like him. He's like, well, it's his job to get hurt, so it looks better for the people. So he has like no remorse for being an awful like person, And so the weirdly awesome Pride cover, I didn't even see that. And yeah, so basically, long story short from there, Trigger Keaton comes up dead. And in his apartment, and it looks like a suicide. And he was about to film a pilot with his most recent sidekick, Miles Nguyen. And the pilot they were going to film is like what's it called? It's like a detective procedural kind of thing. And so the sidekick, like he went to like trained with detectives and stuff, right? So he could be ready for his role on this show. So they were about to film this pilot, but homeboy comes up dead and hanging in his apartment, right? And so the cops come in and they're just like, oh yeah, he died, suicide. And the dude's like, well, what do you mean? Like, don't you have to investigate or something? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Nobody liked him. He's dead. And so his partner, he uses all the detective skills he learned in school to play the role and kind of like points out some facts and stuff. And so from there, basically, because he's like the most unlikable person ever, like they're trying to figure out who killed him. So it kind of turns into a whodunit from there. And then you have all this stuff because all of his sidekicks worked with him in different parts of his life. So they have different connections to him and stuff. The one guy from the beginning, like the child actor that was his sidekick, like now he's grown up, and so he, instead of staying in acting, he got out of acting, he becomes a nurse. And so he like comes to the funeral and he's wearing his scrubs, and he's like trying to say like, I have to go back to work. And they're like, oh, like what medical drama are you on? And he's like, no, like real work. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what's your call time? And he's like, no, like I'm actually a nurse at the hospital. They're like, what does that mean? He's like, it's not a crazy concept that I have a job, So there's like some good comedy with like Hollywood and movie and TV actors and stuff like that. But other than that, it's basically a question of like who killed Trigger Keaton, and I guess not as much why, because nobody seemed to like him. But I'm sure there'll be a nice twist in like the motivation, of course. So seems pretty cool so far. I enjoyed it.
You said that's the one that would play well as a show or a series or something?
Yeah, it feels a lot like a TV show. Like I could definitely see this, if it were to go to screen as like a kind of a spoof on like TV actors and like, like late 90s, early 2000s TV acting behind the scenes kind of stuff. If it were presented as that kind of show, I think it could work really well. It'd be kind of cool.
You think it'd hold up the comedic value of something like the Joker?
Possibly.
This dude just nothing breaks his sense of humor. Nothing. Even when he's torturing people, sewing their faces up with like white hot metal wire and then ripping it off just to scar them. Like I've heard people say that this issue was slower. This issue was this was probably my favorite issue so far. Like this was really good. Like this was incredibly good.
What was the Joker wearing in the first few pages? Was he still rocking that Hawaiian shirt? That was the end of issue 3.
Like That's a good question.
I think he's wearing long sleeves and a vest, isn't he? I
didn't even pay attention.
Let's see.
Let's see if the continuity is there, boys.
Why would he be wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
No, yeah, he's wearing black long sleeve shirt and
right? At the end of
tan vest.
He's wearing what he was wearing when he opened the door.
I thought he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt when he opened up the door.
That was issue 1 when he was lounging in the pool when this.
No. When he opened the door and Jim was there.
I don't remember him wearing a Hawaiian shirt there. But all that to say, this was a good read. Everyone kind of showed up. We had Bane's daughter show up at the same time as the cannibals. And
she killed that guy with a tree.
Yeah.
Straight punched it and then just like shoved it over.
It was pretty cool.
This is great.
So none of the attacks worked, and the cannibal people definitely got the worst of it. And the whole time, everyone's kind of recognizing Gordon and telling him to get out of there and stuff. And it was just cool. It was just fun seeing that whole assault take place. The inner dialogue that runs through this stuff is fantastic. Like you can really see like that indie style of writing in this book that Tynan has. And it definitely comes out in all that narration, like when Jim's got the gun aimed down on him. And I don't know, I just enjoyed it. It was completely violent issue, ultra violent.
I thought it was great in that, like, it kind of, I don't know, I think we all kind of believe that Jim Gordon is always going to do the right thing. I don't know how to say that because it's really not. He deserves to die. But, I think putting Gordon in these moments, this early on in the story really shows us that like we don't know and he doesn't know. And that's kind of important, that even him as a character, everything he's been through in life, at this point, he still doesn't know what's the right thing to actually do. And by putting him in this situation, it shows us that instead of us assuming that he knows when he gets there, but we don't,
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I thought it kind of recontextualized the audience's relationship to the Joker. Because in the previous issues, he's just been like background fodder, like they've used this very like twisted art and metaphorical presence to kind of have the Joker there in the early issues. But now that he's here, they kind of recontextualize our relationship to him because like he planted all those bombs. So he's one step ahead of everybody. And not only did he know that Gordon was coming because he met him at the door, but he knew that everybody was coming and exactly like what he needed to do to be prepared. So it's kind of telling us again, like, yeah, the Joker's always one step ahead. And then it takes a scene later and it goes, oh, and by the way, like, this is why he didn't do the A Day attack, you know. So
Did you get a
it
Heath
really gives us
Ledger Joker
perspective.
vibe from this one? Like I got a Heath Ledger
Yeah, I
Joker
could see
vibe big
that.
time.
Yeah,
Like when he was
yeah,
sitting
just
there
like
just
real
talking to Gordon.
sinister, real
Mhm.
nasty, just real smart guy. Like he wasn't planning to really fight, you know, and he didn't fight. Like he knew how to control the chaos so he could get away. And you know, again, just like one step ahead of everybody. And then he's so like, you know, sure of himself that he's able to say like, look at my patterns, look at my habits. You know me as well as I know me. We've been doing this dance long enough. Do you really think I did the A-Day attacks? You know,
He's like,
like
I've
it's
got
just
bigger plans for Gotham that have been in the works since before my war. That wasn't an in-game war. Like he's got
yeah.
plans that even the big money people who have normally let him do what he wants to do, they're not happy with that. Hence why the Court of Owls have stepped in to want to take him out. And we got the whole thing with Barbara and Stephanie kind of looking into Crescenda, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Cece.
Cressida.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's what she signed that paper as is Cece, and looking into her, trying to follow the money and figure out who she is and why she is. And in the midst of doing all this, we're left with a cliffhanger with these characters with a Talon standing right behind Barbara. So it should be getting good on two fronts now. I think that we've seen we saw the big action happen with Joker and Gordon. So probably in the next issue, we're going to see a little bit going on with Babs and Stephanie. But I'm excited to get more
I
into
also
that
like,
old money Gotham stuff in this.
yeah, I also like how interwoven Bane's daughter is becoming and everything. I think that's going to play out kind of interesting because it could make her like more of an anti-hero kind of character, you know, somebody like Catwoman or something that's kind of playing both sides and, you know, not really too good or too bad.
I don't know how I feel about the anti-hero stuff. I feel like we're so bogged down with it. I like people just to be bad or people just to be good for now. I mean, we have enough anti-hero characters. Like Jason Todd's character is built on that. Like if you quit introducing so many anti-hero characters and just let the ones that are there be themselves, you wouldn't have to keep introducing more and more of them. Ghostmaker, Clown Hunter, Vengeance. What's going on, Cardboard Crazies? Glad you could make it. Glad you could stop by. Now, overall, it was a very good read in my opinion. We got a lot of revelations for the Batman universe, like Joker's war coming, him clearing his name with A-Day, the big plans that he has. I think it's pretty cool how concerned he is that people know that he didn't do it. Also, like he obviously doesn't seem worried about people coming after him, but just whatever he has in store that's next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid read.
Who would you guys say is the largest anti-hero in the entire DC universe?
In the DC universe?
Perhaps Lobo?
Yeah. I was going to say like Deathstroke at times, but he's just a hired gun, but definitely Lobo over Deathstroke.
The same Lobo we see in Transport?
The same Lobo that we see in Transport, which is featured in Justice League Last Ride. Brought to us by Chip Zdarsky.
Who does these interiors, Chris?
Mendoza?
That's Supergirl ad. She's coming. That's going to be good.
I don't think it's going to be controversial. I think it's just going to be a good book. That's Supergirl.
It can be a good book, but it's Tom King, so it's controversial.
Right.
Yeah. The haters don't exist. Red Hood. Yeah, Red Hood's a pretty good anti-hero too. So, yeah, Last Ride. What'd y'all think of the beginning?
I thought it was quite
Ryan, did you read Last Ride issue number 2?
Who?
Last Ride issue number 2.
Did you read it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Read it twice.
I thought it had quite the twist beginning with the potential fall of Aquaman. And I gotta admit, seeing Superman bitch slap a lot of robots around was fantastic to watch. But the 2 pages later where we get Darkseid is make his appearance, that was fantastic. And I'm glad that his errands were completed and that we have this interior page that we do. This is, I think, one of the better drawings of Darkseid that I've seen in quite a while.
Dude, that whole the whole intro was awesome with them trying to stop all the bombs that were portaling in and everything. Wonder Woman fighting fiercely against the Furies, and Granny Goodness coming in trying to give her a slick compliment while she's trying to kill her. And Wonder Woman doesn't play; she just goes rears back and cuts her head off just in one swipe. And then everyone's trying to port. You have Darkseid dropping bombs through boom tubes on Earth, and like you said, that potential death of Aquaman. And this was actually something that caught my attention and threw me off because I was kind of speculating that this book is going to be a timeline filler for Future State, where it's the event that happens that kind of splits the league that requires the new generation to come together. In Future State, they were talking about the old leaguers in high regard, but there's something of the past because of a bad event that happened. In Future State, Arthur's alive, so
Yes,
I don't
he
know.
is.
I don't know if this is his death or, like you said, the suspected death of him. But that page, I'm like, oh no. Like I was reading, I'm like, here we go, get some Aquaman goodness. He's like, I'm on my way, aisle, and you turn the page. Just
See ya.
bye, bye.
Yep.
And then we get Batman
He's
and
gone.
Martian Manhunter on Apocalypse trying to shut everything down. They're trying to find Darkseid. They're trying to get the fight and get him and trying to get their bearings and in control. And you have a big fight going on Oa with Green Lantern and Superman. And I thought it was fantastic because Superman makes that comment. He's like, he says something about like, you feel it, the charges in the air are changing. And then you get that awesome moment you're talking about with the boom tube opening. He says, apologies for my lateness. I had
He
errands.
says, wait, can you feel it? That charge in the air. He's
He's
coming
coming.
now.
He's coming.
Apologies
Darkseid
for
just
my lateness.
walks through holding dead Guardians in both hands. Like, what? What?
Yeah. Like how great
I had some
is that
errands.
piece of art there with Darkseid? That is fantastic.
Yeah, dude, that was a power move right there on the artist part. That was great. Page working. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
They got it on the turn and everything. It was just good. And I thought it was awesome because Hal was trying to save that one Guardian. He's like, we got to get you to the rest. We got to keep you safe, blah, blah, blah. And it looks like wherever he was trying to get him is where Darkseid happened to be in that moment while he's trying to get him there. Like, talking about ahead of the curve.
Right.
But it was cool. After that, you get Batman and the Flash flying in the Javelin on the edges of a black hole trying to stay under the radar, and Wally just kind of nervously bantering with him and everything, and Lobo just picking on everybody in classic Lobo fashion.
Yeah.
It was a lot of character spotlighting in this, kind of getting a bearing on where everyone is, because we're not sure of this timeline yet. We're not sure where it falls, what they're going to do with it. And the dynamic of the team is definitely fractured right now. Like, nothing seems to be fitting into pieces properly between each other. And it is causing this tension. And I'm definitely feeling it when I'm reading it. And I like that we have Hal in here in like full parallax mode, not full parallax mode, but partial parallax mode. He's not using a ring to sling. He's just got his hands that's doing all the work. But it was just a good read all around. You got a little mini save that they did in there. And
this whole scene, like everything with Batman there, like that's where all the tension lies.
Yes, it's all him.
Yeah, and so it's kind of weird the line later, but anyway, I do want to point out like this artist does an amazing job with all these like silhouettes.
Yeah,
where it's like Wonder Woman here with all the gold outline, just absolutely beautiful.
She's had enough of Lobo at that point.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, he wants her to do it. He's not bluffing. He wants her to cut him up and put him out in space.
Yeah.
And like right here, you also get Superman, and it's like all dark, and then you see the red symbol in his chest, and the big red cape. And in that first issue, there was a couple of silhouette moments like that as well. Just like so well done.
I would like Zdarsky to be writing the main Justice League title. Just because there's just such a big difference when someone can make a story flow so well. And then you have this artist on this who's doing such a great job just bringing it to life. When things are in motion, they feel in motion. When things are moving fast as hell, you can tell they're moving fast as hell. The panel to panel is so smooth. You're not getting lost in the action. Your eyes aren't bouncing around. You're not having to look back at panel or none of that crap.
The scale, like it's always hard to tell on camera, but like this is a massive ship, and then you just have Superman like very tiny there, just like trying to stop it all.
Yeah, it's
just like really captures the scale.
Miguel Mendoza is credited with doing the interiors. Derek Robertson did the cover A. I hope I pronounced that the right way.
Probably close enough. I thought like the color work here, very solid.
He's getting a lot of work with DC right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mendoza?
I think Zdarsky, right?
No, Derek Robertson. He's doing that Batman Legends of the Dark Knight thing right now.
So we were all on a different name.
No, talking about the artist. The artist who did the cover A is the same guy who's doing the Legends of the Dark Knight. Huh?
And he the same one that did The Boys?
Zdarsky's getting a lot of work all around as well, like between his different titles at DC and the Spider Shadow and that Legends of the Urban Legends, that Batman title. He's getting that one shot coming up for crossover. I don't
Daredevil
know
and Stillwater. Yeah.
Like he deserves a lot of fanfare, in my opinion.
Yeah. I enjoyed the ending where, Batman trying to be the calming influence in the ship as they approach Apocalypse. He just says it's mostly dormant, but we just need to be on alert. And Lobo points out dormant. man, I love to be the one doing the killing, but it's really going to be having a front row seat to watching all of you die. So yeah, Lobo being Lobo, but yeah, it's
yeah. They said that the melting heart of Apocalypse is burned out, but there's clearly going to be more going on there.
Yeah,
it's a thoroughly good read, and it's shaping out to be a great miniseries. Good casting characters with Lobo thrown in there on top of everything.
Team asks if you guys are pumped about Deathstroke Inc.
I don't even know what that is.
I didn't hear of it, Travis.
Pocan is. I haven't heard of it either. I can only assume that after getting all the little crap in Robin with what was that little Respawn? Wasn't that his name? That Deathstroke.
Respawn?
Yeah.
The one that looks like Spawn?
No, the one that looks like Deathstroke.
Yes.
Oh, that was
Robin 2, right?
No, Ravager was in there trying to train Damian, but they look at when they did the character spotlights, Respawn looked just like Deathstroke, but instead of orange, he was red. Like with the half mask and everything. So that's why they're like, yeah, we don't want to talk about it. So he's clearly ripping off her dad.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're going to pull all these characters together or something. I don't know.
Deathstroke Academy.
Another academy.
I guess staying within the DC universe, did y'all read Detective?
I unfortunately did not get a chance.
I did not, but I will go through it with you.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still enjoying the A story. Like Tamaki is knocking it out of the park there. I really like that we're getting a lot of Bruce Wayne and his. I like the way that she's taken the focus away from like how much money he has, because at least up through 106, Batman really wanted to bring up as much as possible how much money he had lost. But Detective, this issue really takes the focus away from the amount of money he has and more the weight of his name in high society. And so they kind of like pit that against old money Mr. Worth. And yeah, I really like Mr. Worth. I think he's like a very like old school kind of Baron Rockefeller type, and so that's great. They're gonna have to be careful that he doesn't just like turn into a caricature of that. But overall, I enjoy him as a character, like the way he's running things and the way he understands that high society and the big money and stuff, and the amount of power that brings. I thought that was really cool. The backup stories were like, There's
now, could you see Mr. Worth being tied in with the Court of Owls? Because whenever I think Gotham and money, I think Court of Owls potential.
Well, the next issue is teased at the end as quite literally old money versus old money, because there's a great like final panel that kind of might mean some things for Batman Bruce Wayne. So yeah, the next issue is teased as old money versus old money. So I think we're gonna get to see what the high society and the old money world of Gotham is like in this next issue. And so we'll probably find out then if if we see the Court of Owls represented in high society in that next issue, then we'll know. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, Mr. Worst shows up with like a RPG and just blows up the prison.
Yeah, I have that
It's
right
great.
here. It's a 2-page splash. Boom.
Yep.
There's actually a lot of beautiful interiors here. Not just the part where he's dropping that building.
Is Dan Mora back on the art with this one? No, this is the one that's not on.
This is Bagdanovic, something
common
like that.
spelling.
The interiors are good. I do miss the way Dan Mora has like energy moving through the story. He really like carries energy panel to panel. And this one doesn't. This is a little more like I don't know, like pinup art style and stuff. A lot of the panel work and stuff doesn't carry the energy across. It's like a lot of great steals and stuff. But it's not bad by any means.
It's just a little 90s flexing here and there.
But I mean, it's not bad. It doesn't ruin the story. The thing I do kind of hate about this book, though, is you have 2 backup stories here, so it shortens the main book. So you're getting less of that, and then like Tamaki's story is okay, but Ridley's story, like, I don't even know if they needed Tamaki's backup story. Ridley's story, like, it's basically like Lucius and Alfred in the Batcave and Batman and Robin out in the field, and Batman and Robin are like pinned down, so they need to set off this EMP. And so whenever they do that, it's going to knock out their own comms. And so for 3 minutes, Lucius and Alfred can't know what's going on in the field. They can't monitor from the Batcave. And so there's this conversation that Lucius and Alfred have in that 3 minutes that seems completely based around one central moment of dialogue. And it's just not a strong enough piece of dialogue to like really carry that whole story like that. So I thought it was a real waste to put Ridley's story in there. It was just kind of pointless. But the A story, very solid. Enjoying that part. You look confused, Mark.
Mark, you with us?
Did he go to sleep?
Mark, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we were just talking to you.
No.
Well, it keeps cutting out on my end.
Okay.
I actually just private messaged y'all that I'm having connection issues tonight.
Cool. So yeah.
Last thing I heard was, "Can you hear me?"
I guess clearly not.
He's doing the
bit.
But to stay on the Batman,
clear up a little bit. I'll be back.
To stay on the Batman train, Ryan, did you read The Detective?
I have not read any of that.
Okay. This Tom Taylor offering, issue 3 finds Batman in the beginning in France in current time, carrying his one of his mentors, Descartes, into a hospital, and he's shouting at the hospital staff everything that's wrong with him. He has 2 shots in the vest, 2 shots in his abdomen, and there's 1 round that's still in him. When the nurse addresses Batman, she asks him, "How do you know all this?" And then essentially the story shifts back to teenage Bruce Wayne, who is now seeking a new mentor to train him on how to be a tracker. We find him outside the Louvre in downtown Paris, and he's trying pardon me, he's trying to track him quietly, and it turns out while Bruce Wayne is tracking Ducard is actually tracking another villain, and the villain actually thinks it's Bruce Wayne's that is tracking him, and confronts Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne attempts to speak, en français to him, and the villain basically says, "Don't insult my language, American," and pulls and decides to pull on him. In the end, it's Ducard that interrupts him and says, "Actually, he's tracking me. It's myself that's tracking you." And he turns the handgun to Ducard, and Bruce interferes, and to me, kind of looks like he may have broke the man's jaw. He hit him so damn hard.
Yeah, there's a big blood splatter on that one.
Right. From there, Bruce attempts to tell him, I'm hoping that you can track or teach me to be a tracker like yourself. You're the world's greatest man tracker, and I'm willing to pay. And the story at that point progressively starts to move forward with Bruce, being mentored by Ducard. Go ahead, Mark. Okay, so we lost Mark again. I was going to say, do you want to take over?
Out on me still.
Okay.
It's just the vet all by himself.
That's pretty much it. There's a lot of that.
Okay.
Backstory of him just kind of going through him being young, just showing him little ins and outs.
Okay, so Mark's having problems with his audio. I'll jump in. So, like Mark was saying, there are short little segments in Bruce's early life where Ducard is teaching him how to be a tracker. There's scenes where Bruce takes down, or Bruce has been tracking a drug dealer, and Ducard moves in for the kill. I shouldn't say he moves in for the arrest and takes him down. And when he takes this drug dealer down, all the police or Interpol that shows up to take the drug dealer away is friends with Ducard, and that's where Ducard explains to Bruce, it's good to have friends everywhere that way, because that way your back is always covered. So Bruce, as we know, has been very solo through his life, dealing with Ra's al Ghul, and now Ducard as mentors. He's very much strictly on his own, trying to keep his identity as quiet as possible. It flashes forward to another scene where Bruce was attempting to track a numbers man for a couple different mafia families, and the money man, the counter for them, says to Bruce, "Do you really think that you could track me? Do you really think that you're that good?" And he's basically he gets the upper hand on Bruce. He ties Bruce up to a chair in ropes, and he's holding a gun to Bruce's head, and he proceeds to beat Bruce or whatever. And when he thinks that he has the upper hand on Bruce, saying, "Do you really think you can track me?" It's Ducard that comes to save Bruce's life, and in the panels, Bruce mentions it's good to have friends, especially in this case. Ducard shows up and points a gun at the money man's head, pardon me, and says, "Nice work, kid. You led me right to him." So the story goes from there. That this money man, this counter for the mafia family, is actually not a good person, and Ducard decides to be judge, jury, and executioner, and shoots him point blank in the face. And from there, as we all know, that's against Bruce's code. Bruce is not a fan of weaponry when it comes to guns, and then decides that Bruce being pretty young and naive, decides to punch Ducard in the face. from there, Ducard gets the upper hand on him, pistol whips him a little bit, kicks him in the chest while he's down. Not really a good move, in my opinion. And that's when they decide to sever the mentorship, just because Bruce is at the point where he's now questioning Ducard's MO when it comes to violence, shooting bad guys point blank in the face instead of turning them over to the law like what he did earlier in the book. From there, it switches a little bit forward in time, where Bruce is now Batman, and Batman is now in London chasing down someone who's threatening the city with a nuclear bomb. And by the time Bruce gets to the bomb, Ducard's actually already there. And the person who has the bomb is dead, and Bruce automatically presumes it's Ducard that's killed him, because the last scene that we had with Ducard, it shows that he's not afraid to be judge, jury, and executioner. And Ducard recognizes Bruce in the Batman suit, and says that he didn't, in fact, kill this person, but point blank open fires on Batman anyway. And Batman, at this point, being who he is, overpowers Ducard quickly. And when he does, Ducard again says that he's innocent. He didn't kill this person. Oh, by the way, can you disarm this nuke that's sitting under the streets of London? And the story goes from there, after Batman, of course, somehow knows how to disarm a nuclear warhead. That Batman takes Ducard to the hospital after, basically crushing the side of his face, and they're talking it out. And then it just kind of flash forwards to now, where Bruce is still in Europe, and when he opens up the door, he's met with four machine guns pointed at him, which turns out to be Interpol, and they place him under arrest. So essentially, we just had a little bit of an origin story for Batman again in this issue, except it was Batman learning how to become the tracker that he is today. And the story kind of cliffhangs with Bruce Wayne being taken away by Interpol. But the one thing it doesn't show is how Ducard, in the very first page of this particular issue, ends up with four gunshots.
Showed us that in the last issue on the balcony of his room.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So what I loved about this issue, what I thought was so great, we do get it all takes place in the backdrop of the past, where he's being trained on how to track people from Ducard, which is really cool. The Liam Neeson's played Ducard in the Christopher Nolan movies. You call that little Key and Peele reference there, the Liam Neeson's. Yeah. But
Liam Neeson.
But anyways, yeah, that was awesome. But I thought what was so cool is we get a real spotlight into Bruce himself, where in the fact that the way that he treats Ducard is very similar to the way that he treats a lot of the people in his life, where he has these certain set of standards and rules that he lives by, and he wants the world to live by, except he surrounds himself with these people who do not care to live by these rules. And he wants to benefit from being around them. He wants them to benefit from being around him, but it's really a one-way street. He wants all of this stuff that Ducard has to offer, but he wants Ducard to play it by his rules. And when it doesn't go straight, when it doesn't go south, he bucks. You step into this other person's world and you start living by it, but then when it doesn't fit your mold, you want this other person to change how they are. And it's very reminiscent of how he plays with Catwoman, But it was just kind of cool seeing that aspect of him at a younger age, in a different place, around different people. It's just showing how constant Bruce Wayne and Batman really is. It was cool. And then getting the flashback scenes of him as Batman in the older suit and everything with the Kubert art, it was fantastic. Ducard's no punk, but apparently he's dead now. So it was just a good issue. I liked it.
Very cool.
Hope I didn't skip in and out.
No, we got you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm finally here tonight, guys. Happy I made it.
Yeah.
Some days are just rough.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, hated it. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it was a good issue. The artwork is fantastic in this. I like the way the Batman's drawn differently and Bruce is drawn differently, and they make sure to know that there's different time eras because there he is in current time era.
Old man
stocked
Bruce.
up, older, like he's got like that military grade haircut and everything. At least the
Mhm.
sides. The top is just bedhead. We get the awesome ad for Garth Ennis's Batman Reptilian coming, so that should be great. But yeah, it was just fun, man. It was a fun read. It's very dynamic all the way through. It's quick pace. It reads smooth. Again, the panel work is fantastic in it. No complaints from me from Batman the Detective, other than they don't have this creative team on the main title, or at least this. You don't have the ability to take stories in this direction with the main title with whatever they have planned. I'm convinced at this point, just with whatever DC has planned, like big continuity wise, is just holding a lot of stuff back currently because we're still kind of at the beginning of this whole Infinite Frontier era. We're only a few issues past Death Metal still, so maybe there's great stuff on the way for it, but we just got to kind of trudge through some unfortunate titles to get there.
Did either of y'all read Chip Zdarsky's Red Hood story?
From last week,
Was it from last week? I
the
thought it
Urban
came out this
Legend?
week.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was last week.
I thought Urban Legends dropped this week.
I did not. Yeah.
No,
No?
I didn't either.
It's all right. I enjoyed it. It was better than the last issue. We kind of got like, I don't know, like more connection to like when Jason was a kid and stuff. Like I don't know, there's this weird thing where he just like leaves him in the desert and stuff. I was like, this is kind of strange. And the narration is like, because I don't know, they're out in the desert and they have like the bat plane. So there's kind of a shout out to like old school Batman, when he just had all kinds of contraptions. So they're out in the desert. They see the Joker stole a train or something. And so Batman's like, just stay here, and like jumps in his bat helicopter and flies off. And then the narration's Jason Todd, like, he knew I wasn't going to listen, or he knew I wouldn't follow his directions or something. But I'm like, dude, you just like flew off and left a kid in the desert. Like, not even dressed as Robin. Like, this fool's just like Jason Todd. He just like flies off and leaves him in the desert. I was like, whoa, what's
No
going on
water,
here?
nothing.
So, yeah, like, so I mean, of course, Jason Todd wasn't going to listen to him. He left him in the desert with no water, no horse, no nothing. What's he supposed to do? So yeah, I don't know. That story is getting weirder and weirder, but this did feel a little better than the lollipop scene. So overall, I'm glad I'm not like paying for it. There was a Batwing story in there that was like, it was okay. It wasn't bad, wasn't great. He fights Killer Croc, so and he solves riddles. He's solving a puzzle for the Riddler or whatever, but the surprise behind the door was Killer Croc, so Batwing has to fight him instead. There's a Tim Drake story in there, a Robin story that's like, it's okay. And then there's the Grifter story, which I don't even think I actually read. I just like skipped through because I don't know, kind of falling away from that one. So yeah, Urban Legends continues to go downhill, but the Zdarsky story is still worth reading. It's just like becoming less of my favorite. So
Looks like you're just reading it to find something goofy about it at this point.
kind of,
Which is weird. It's very weird for his stuff. I was shocked with that last one just because the one before this one with the lollipop and Batman just being so not even forgiving of him murdering that guy, but just so nonchalant. Like, yeah, we got other things to do, like pass out candy to children.
Yeah,
weird.
I guess like to kind of like long tangent this. Bearded Comic Bro, he did a video this past week where he highlights like a character profile, a villain profile, and he did Mr. Zaz this past week. And I was like, you know what? All these books are available on DC Universe Infinite, the app service, So I've been trying to read those, and so I read the one he suggested, Batman Chronicles #3. And that's like an anthology piece. So the actual story that is Victor Zaz's like origin story, that is really only like 8-page story or something. But it's a nice little read, and it would serve really well as like a subplot through line for like the Batman movie. Like it would be pretty easy to lace that story and then the other story through there as like a subplot. But anyway, I read that, and so then I started reading Shadow of the Batman or Shadow of the Bat.
Yeah, number one, the first
Yeah.
appearance.
Yeah, so I read number 1, and then today I read number 2. And number 2 feels a lot like that Chip Zdarsky Red Hood story. And in fact, I sent you guys a page from it earlier because it has like the weird Batman smile, like he's being real soft and fatherly and stuff, which is kind of what happens in this issue of the Red Hood story. Like it shows flashbacks to when Batman was really being kind of fatherly and protective over Jason. And so, yeah, I thought it was just like a weird parallel that I started reading Shadow of the Bat, and like number 2 I read today, and I also read that Chip Zdarsky short, and I was like, man, these feel a lot alike. Like there's a lot of same tones and styles, and clearly he has the same smile that he had for the little kid with the lollipop. So I was like, that's an odd connection to randomly make, but it was
It
there.
was weird. And he sees so much expression in his forehead through the cowl. I think that's what makes it so weird, like little crinkles.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. It's just weird artwork. It's just very, very odd artwork for the moment. And when we're talking weird artwork, there's few things that are more creepy or more crappy, should I say, than that Batman than this stupid artwork in Spider Shadow.
Oh, Pascal Ferry.
Horrible, inconsistent. Like you can't even understand from panel to panel what's happening. Drawing characters differently from one to the next. It was absolutely a big takeaway from the actual book. The story's strong. The story's really strong. It's still good, but god awful artwork. Let me see this real quick before I lose my connection. All right. So this page of Eddie Brock with the Dr. Octopus's arms.
Brock Ock.
There he is. There's Eddie Brock with the octopus arms. But look right there. In this one, you can see the apparatus going up over his shoulders to his chest. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, so that's how it stays on there, I guess. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That wasn't on this one.
It's got open jacket.
So I looked at it numerous times, and it never got better. And then the whole scene with them taking Spider-Man into the barn that's on fire because they realize that the suit doesn't like the fire. You get to this page, and you can't even tell what's happening. Jameson takes him in there because that's Jameson in the Spider Slayer. Takes him in there. Peter's like, help me, my dude, help me. It's the suit, not me. And then Kraven runs in there. Then there's an explosion, Kraven on the ground, and then walking out. And now his mask is broken open. He's got this strange little device in his hand that is never mentioned or talked about. Like, where's it at? Did you even notice that he's holding a strange device, Chris?
You're talking Peter or Kraven?
Neither. Jameson. He's holding this strange device in his hand afterward, and it's not the symbiote inside of anything. It's just this artwork makes no sense. It does not lend to the story. It takes away from it. It's not clean. It's not crisp. And if they would have done it this trashy but with decent panel work, it'd been okay. You know what I mean? As long as you can follow the story smoothly. If I'm having to hit the brakes on the story to go double check all the artwork, that just drives me nuts, man. Like here's another panel of Brock Ock without the shoulder straps.
Right. The one, if we're gonna continue down the avenue of Ferry's work, the one part that I did find odd was when they realized that Peter's there at the scene outside the barn where they are. They show Peter in the woods, and essentially all you can see is the white of the webbing that he's crawling on against the black backdrop. Then all of a sudden, Ferry decides that he's going to show the Sinister Six, but it's like total 60s LSD trip for them. So this is Peter. This is Peter up here, and all of a sudden they're going to highlight. Yeah, I get that it's Mysterio attempting to throw Peter off, but it's bizarre. It's bizarre work. I think the coloring is actually better than what the artwork itself is.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because here we go. Go to page 2 or page 1 technically, the first two pages of the book, and look at the right hand side, bottom right panel.
Eddie's face.
Yeah, explain that to me.
it's attempting to be Shadow, I guess. Yeah. I gotta admit, like very.
I was ready. That's how this story started for me. Is I first get the inconsistency of the way
it's actually
Brock
not
is
just
drawn.
It's not just Brock Ock. If you right across from Eddie, the close up of Triple J, it's the same thing. It's the weird coloring
But
that is
look
supposed
at
to be
Eddie
Shadow.
though. But really look at
Yeah.
Eddie.
just looks
Show that
Eddie
drawing.
actually, to me, Eddie actually looks like he's getting the war paint on, like he's
He
getting
looks like
ready
he's going to
for
fight
Operation Desert
dinosaurs.
Storm.
He's going to fight dinosaurs with that war paint.
But again, like the next page over, when they show Peter driving, that's the coloring that I'm talking about. The winter scene where that part I enjoyed. The Beatles coloring as well. But the one thing that we're not talking about here is how brutal Peter actually is to the Sinister Six.
The story was awesome. Yeah,
if you want to look at it this way, that the sinister one in this story is not the Sinister Six. The sinister, it's Peter that's sinister. He has a symbiote crash through Mysterio's mask, taking him out.
Kills Rhino with one punch. Just peels his muffin cap back.
Yeah, Rhino's gone with just a mean right hook, and it's just a hook. And we've seen Peter do this, like same thing with the Kingpin. He didn't even give the Kingpin a right; he gave him a left.
Yeah,
and
didn't even let him finish monologuing. It was fantastic. He just burns through him the whole time. He's monologuing. You notice how Spider-Man is the one monologuing about how he's given all these guys free passes. He's held back on them, this and that. I'm sick of it, just taking them out. It was fantastic.
My biggest problem with this was, okay, so J. Jonah Jameson shows up in the Spider Slayer suit. Now, this is supposed to be one of those moments like, oh crap, look what just rolled in here. J. Jonah Jameson is now inside the Spider Slayer suit. That to me should have been a splash page, but it's not. It's the bottom left corner of a 4-part panel where Kraven essentially just says, there it is, fear, get him into the barn. And then all of a sudden, the Spider Slayer suit is overlooking Peter, and it's the Spider Slayer that actually grabs Peter and pushes him into the barn to attempt to burn the suit off of him. Kraven is doing his best attempt to lead what's left of the ragtag team, and again, when Kraven realizes, what
is that, Chris?
Let's back up. Oh, I was going to say this is where J. Jonah Jameson decides to throw it. Yeah. Well, isn't that the Spider Slayer suit just minimized?
I mean, I'd have no clue because the Spider Slayer suit's laying on the ground next to him. So,
yep. Maybe that. Yeah, I can't explain it. You're right. Or I was gonna say, or maybe that's the Rhino. Nope, that's the suit. But yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if that was meant to be like the heart of like what Iron Man's chest is supposed to be, that round part. But yeah, it's weird. I do like the fact that in the end, J. Jonah Jameson in the part of the Sinister Six is the one that's most villainous, because it's Kraven who's about to finish off Peter and do what they all agreed they're going to do, kill Spider-Man. J. Jonah Jameson takes Kraven out, and then takes Peter and whisks him away with a bit of the symbiote on the minivan that they're traveling in. He's hanging on to the back, and then we get a little bit of an epilogue story where
its son found the Fantastic Four. It deems them a threat, that they're the first ones to warn Peter about it. So it took over Reed Richards. It looked like it's cloning itself. So they're dabbling with Clone Saga stuff here, possibly.
Right. Exactly. We have a symbiote taking over Ben Grimm, the Thing. And when it pans out from where Ben is now being taken over, we see six symbiotes in total in the Baxter building. We did kind of skip over the fact that J. Jonah Jameson brought Peter back to MJ's apartment where she was having a conversation with the Black Cat.
A
And
cat fight.
right, and I don't.
They were getting Peter possessive.
Yeah, they were. I don't think they were trading war stories about Peter, but they were definitely getting a little heated. And then J. Jonah Jameson walks in with Peter essentially half naked. But Peter, speaks to MJ, of course, and basically says that he couldn't break away from the suit, and that's why he was doing what he was doing. And now the cops are outside their apartment, and they're going to be coming in on Peter. And that's where it switches over to the Baxter building, where we see Ben Grimm, like I mentioned earlier, getting taken over by one of 6 symbiotes. And it's going to be interesting where they go from there. Now, my question is, do you think that the symbiote that's speaking in the end, Mark, has already taken over Mr. Fantastic? Is this Mr. Fantastic speaking?
I think so because
it looks like he's all stretched out, right? Like El Stretcho from
yeah, he's definitely stretched out. That's definitely what I was assuming, that it was Mr. Fantastic that was already taken over, and then you got Reed in the background.
Ben in the background.
Pops just messaged me. He said Jameson doesn't wear the Spider Slayer remote controls it. He was holding the controller. In this, though, Jameson was clearly wearing it. He was inside of a suit, and like you see him through the glass shielding of it. Unless that was just like a projection of his face that was up on like a TV screen.
That's what it was in the early issues of ASM from 15 to 30. There's a couple different Spider Slayer appearances, and it's essentially like him transponding himself onto a screen of a robot, and he's controlling the robot from the Daily Bugle. But
I guess that's what this was. He was just holding the remote controller for it. The way that they have it drawn, they have like Jameson like kind of clearly inside of it.
But yeah, they don't show a scene where J. Jonah Jameson is actually at the controls of the Spider Slayer. Mm-hmm. If that's what the unit was that's attached to his chest. Pardon me, after the middle pages. But that would make sense if that's what he was doing, was controlling a robot.
But the reason why it's so hard to tell that is because the artwork is so terrible in this. It's terrible.
Terrible. I at the end of this book, the one thing that kind of caught me was I really wish Marvel would have let Chip have full control of it, not just writing, but to actually do the artwork as well. We all know that Chip Zdarsky is a beautiful artist. He does wonderful work, and I think if he would have been able to do this, it would have been all the better. The same way that Marvel let is it, like I said, Johnson that's handling Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a better road to go down as opposed to Pascal Ferry. Now I'm not hating it as much as what Mark is, but I do agree there's a lot of for a what if title, I shouldn't be saying what's going on here.
Yeah. So total opposite of bad art is, look at that.
Geiger.
Look at that. Look at that amazing art.
What?
Oh my God. What? Like, that is flawless. Like, all that little detail and getting that glow in there. And that's how the book starts. You just like open it up to that just amazingness. Like, you get a little flat. This is Geiger, by the way. I was tired of looking at trash art. Gary Frank is top notch. But Geiger was really good. Another solid issue. I'm afraid of the day that we get past these pre-written and turned in issues, and I hope that doesn't slow down and it get delayed and postponed and moved into just frustration on that. But this was great. We got a little flashback in here about the experimental research and treatment that was done on our main character, on why he potentially was able to survive outside without the suit, what potentially made him the way he was, the fact that those rods that he carries, they have to stay attached to him to help contain the energy level within him. And by him removing them is what actually fires him up into full Geiger mode. We kind of saw the fallout from issue 1, really. We didn't really know why the king over in Las Vegas, his face was scarred, and they gave us the flashback of after that initial interaction, the first issue with those guys, when they found him, they immediately came back with everybody and beat the hell out of Geiger, and didn't work out in their favor. And basically, we added a couple of kids to the ongoing story of this. He's going to keep them around because we got the big reveal that his wife and kids, who he's been protecting inside of the bomb shelter, are in fact dead. And it was sinister how they showed us this with him being held down and beat up. We had that kid king who's ruling the gang go and have his men blow open the door, and you find out that not only are his wife and kid dead, they've been dead a long time. There's just clothes and bones laying there, and it doesn't stop there. They literally grab his wife's head off the ground and just throw it like a toy, like just completely showing no respect for the corpses of his family members and taunting him. And it doesn't pay off well for them. He beats them all up, and he grabs that little kid who they're all wearing these radiation suits, and he just slowly puts his hand through the face mask of it, and there's that awesome little side shot of him just putting his fingers through it and grabbing that kid by the face and just holding him up, burning him. It was super cool. I love the issue. Solid story. Y'all didn't get a chance to read that one, did you?
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Looks like Nick is getting his first CBCS SIG verification grading submission and wanted to check in before heading to sleep. Got to get up early to get some more Ensure. Yeah, got to keep those bones strong, brother. Yeah, that signature verification service is fantastic. I like that they have that. But yeah, Geiger was great. I'm excited for you to get a chance to read it. I know none of y'all are reading Rorschach either, but this was another great issue. It's just a private investigator story. Still just solid chapters to the whole mystery added with each issue. We got a private investigator kind of going back to the farm where everything was kind of prepared and all the stuff was put in order to go make the assassination attempt. He kind of plays it out in his head as he's walking the property and seeing them training. And we're getting up toward like the night before the assassination attempt itself, and he finds out that he kind of discovers this blood spot on the floor inside of the house where the crime happened before they even went to go pull off their attempt. And it's revealed that Turley, the guy who was running for office against Redford, who they took the attempt on, they had people coming and giving the kid and Rorschach all the information to make the assassination attempt. So now it's like going all the way up to the political offices, that it's not just the kid manipulating people for her own ends, but it's actually the people in political office that have reached out to them as well. And yeah, the plot thickens. Make too many quick movements, you'll hurt yourself. Now take your stairs. Go to bed slowly.
Take the stair lift.
I made sure to get a house with no stairs. A dog and I are too old for stairs. Later, crew. Good night, Nick. Appreciate you stopping by.
Man, so I read this book called it's a digital first. It's Joker Presents the Puzzle Box, something like that. It comes out, I think, in August in print, but it was pretty good. It's got a great sense of humor to it. The basic premise is a hot-headed Harvey and Gordon have arrested the Joker, and so they have him in an interrogation room. And so they're interrogating the Joker, but the way that you get the story delivered is from the Joker's perspective. So he's telling them the story of what happened. And basically what's gone down is he was having his birthday party at his house, and all of the villains were there. And Batman, and I think it's even a surprise party, right? So he comes in and all of Batman's villains are there. And Batman and Robin crash the party to arrest them, right? And in that moment, that's when you remember, oh yeah, the Joker's telling you this story, right? Because like Batman and Superman come through the window and they're like, stop, you're all under arrest, except for you, Joker. We have no problem with you. And so he's like, the Joker is telling the story, but all of the dialogue is all like how the Joker would say it. So they're like, they get them all arrested and stuff, and Batman and Robin are like, "Oh, thanks for helping us out, Joker," and like all this stuff,
Oh, wow.
And it cuts back and forth to the interrogation room, and Harvey's getting more and more angry. And for some reason, Gordon keeps letting him go on, And they like go to like the holding cell, and like all the villains are in there and stuff. Like it's a fun little story. Like it's hilarious because again, like it's all just being told from the Joker's perspective. And I think it's supposed to be like an anthology thing where it's always the Joker telling a story of why he just got arrested to them in the interrogation room, and kind of the same thing. But supposedly each story is supposed to reveal a piece of like this overarching scheme of his or something. So it's all little puzzle pieces in his puzzle box. But the first one was pretty funny. I enjoyed it.
I saw that coming out. I'm so far behind. I need to read it. Did you see if Static was released digital first yet or not?
I didn't even think to check for that.
Yeah, the Milestone Returns was. I was assuming that the rest of them might be. So I don't plan on picking up all the floppies for them, but I was planning on reading them to try them out.
Oh, I would love to be able to read them
next week.
Yeah.
That's exciting that Static is coming back.
Heck yeah.
I never really watched the show growing up. Was more than aware of it when I was a kid.
Oh, I loved it. It was one of my favorite ones.
I know a lot of people did.
Ryan, did you
titles you want to break down?
Ryan, did you read Bunny Mask?
Oh yeah, I did read that.
Okay, Mark, you didn't read it, did you?
No.
Okay, like.
So you know about as much as we do, then.
The weird story of the week, and like this book starts off with a bang. Like, Okay, so there's these two social workers that are in the United States. What do you call the social workers that are in charge of children's welfare? Because here in Canada,
Child Protective Services.
Okay, so CPS. Yeah. Here in Canada, there's a different name for it. But so these welfare.
It's not Canadian Protective Services.
No, it's no. Yeah. Anyways, hey, good night. So, anyways, these two social workers go to investigate a girl's home. Apparently, this young girl hasn't been to school for X amount of time, and the school has contacted Protective Services, Children Protective Services, CPS, I guess, in the States.
DFACS, isn't it called DFACS?
Right, to find out what's going on. Anyways, the father is known to CPS, and they show up in the first couple of pages, knock on the door, and the father opens the door. After that, we see on the way there, the father has his daughter, the girl that they're going to investigate why she hasn't been to school. He has her sitting in the kitchen on a chair, and it looks like he's doing something with her teeth, like she may have a tooth problem, but instead he takes a hammer and a screwdriver to her teeth and lets it rip. Yeah. And again,
just like a chisel and a hammer, and just like the teeth.
And
like
again, that image actually continues to show up throughout the remainder of the story. As the story progresses, we see mouths, or basically, we'll get to it. Anyways, that image,
there's like a bunch of mouths.
Right, that image of broken teeth instead of a mouth is throughout the very first story. Anyways, when these two social workers ring, by the way, I'm still on page 2 or 3 here. When they ring the doorbell, this sick father who just essentially knocked the teeth out of his daughter's mouth opens the door, and the female, was a male and female social worker. The female begins to speak to him, and he just takes a tree branch and stabs her with it.
Runs it right through her.
Right through her. And that's the... I don't know. I don't even know where he got the hammer and screwdriver for to do dental surgery, but somehow it was there.
Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Right. It was... Anyways, it was It was gruesome, and it just went from there. It was like a bullet train of weirdness.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to
the
say it
other
was
thing is,
intriguing. It was interesting, not intriguing. It was just interesting.
like, the social workers are on their way there, right? And they're like, yeah, the wife, the mom, I think then they referred to her as the wife. So she's been missing for like 10 years. Like 10 years ago, she just up and disappeared and nobody's seen her since. And so they go out there and the dad's like all crazy and like chipping out his daughter's teeth and runs a branch through the female social worker and then takes the guy down into like this cave and has him and
Well,
his daughter there.
knocks
Like,
him out first, and then puts him down there.
yeah, like, yeah, he knocks him
Runs their
out. So
car
he's
off a
like oddly
cliff. Yeah,
strong. And
yeah.
yeah, so like he puts him in a cave and puts him to work with his daughter. So he's got like this mid-30s grown ass social worker dude like chipping like digging away in a cave, and
Below
then
their home.
his like 10-year-old daughter is there as well, like digging away at stuff. And it's just weird. Like it's like Silence of the Lambs or something, but
Yeah.
not quite as masterfully done. But it's just weird. Like
Not
he's got
quite.
hostages, and they're like
he's not Buffalo Bill.
digging, and he takes the daughter back. He's like, okay, now it's just gonna be you, and leaves the man there like digging in the cave. And
Right. So
he talks to this he has like voices in his head and stuff, and
that's
it's
the
telling
big
him
one.
to do this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's just like a whole bunch of weirdness, and then there's like a big twist at the end. But
yeah,
like,
it's a weird story that he has this male social worker captive from what goes to be 24 hours to a week till over a month of
mhm.
of having this man, which we are led to believe is below his home, and he's putting him to work, and he's putting his daughter to work, kind of like what this child enslavement, that like what you saw in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just cracking away at rocks, and eventually
Yeah.
eventually the social worker knocks through a wall, and through this opening, he sees a series of caves, and the mouths of these caves are reminiscent of what the father did to the daughter's mouth by fracturing her teeth in the first couple of pages. All the mouths look like a mouth, but with broken teeth everywhere. And it's at this point where
But it's also like vague enough that it could possibly be naturally occurring.
right. It's at this point where the social worker goes into this room where the mouths of where the caves are, and the father shows up and just open fires on him and takes a chunk out of this this worker's leg, and the father walks in and just starts losing his mind with the voices, and the daughter is there as well. And then all of a sudden, we have a shadowy woman,
The cover image,
wearing a bunny mask, show up and essentially kill the father while saying odd things. And
Saying odd things.
And here's the part.
Like, it's a trip, dude.
Here's the part where Chris's second porn selection of the week is bunny mask. The shadowy woman begins to lick the man's gunshot wounds, and the worker passes out from being shot, and the shadowy woman licking his wounds, and he wakes up a little while later in an ambulance and on the way to the hospital. He's talking about like, I need help, I need help, I've been shot. And they're like, where have you been shot? And he says, in the leg. And he opens, and the image pans to his leg, and his leg is mysteriously healed by this woman deciding to lick his leg. And flash forward
not
years.
Even that, because like they don't even know what cave he's talking about and all kinds of stuff. Like the whole thing, it makes it out like he just had like some kind of crazy fever dream. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's connected to Donnie Darko, but it's very Donnie Darko-ish. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's dark, and it's gruesome. It's weird. It's a little sadistic. I don't want to say it's over the top, but I don't know if I'm going to pick up issue 2. I don't know. What are you thinking, Ryan? You gonna pick up issue 2?
What about Harvey?
My initial instinct is no. I don't
Right.
know. I
They
don't know how much I believe that this story is actually going to go anywhere. It
yeah.
concerns me that it might be like one of those like first issue high concept things, and the rest of the issues can't quite live up to it. So
Yeah. So the story ends basically the young girl, the daughter, flash forward 20 years, is grown up and somehow has survived the trauma when everyone thought that she was dead, and she's actually hosting an art showing at an art gallery, and he's just randomly driving with a coworker, and when he sees the sign to this art exhibit, it's basically uh, an image of the Money Mask being brought to us by the girl. I believe the young girl's name was B, and
hmm
being brought to us by B, whatever her last name is. And he stops the car in the middle of traffic and just walks walks away from his car and his
yeah,
passenger, like, and walks into this art gallery. And the artist, who is the young girl but all grown up, sees him, and then they made the connection that of what they had down in the caves, and they speak about it briefly. But instead of continuing to talk about it, she just says, "Here's my card. Give me a call sometime. I'd love to talk to you about it." And
yeah, that was kind of ambiguous too, because she's like
yeah,
10, like she's like 10 or so whenever the story's taking place, like all the early stuff whenever he's in the cave. But
yeah,
it tells us at the very beginning that that's like 14 years ago. So that
right,
means she's like 24 to 28, something like that. Um, and so like that ending, right? Like we find like he's in the ambulance and it's like all a fever dream kind of ordeal, right? And so he gets
yes,
there, he goes to dinner. Now this is like 10 years or 14 years later or whatever. So he's kind of like still got PTSD from it, but it's not like running his life at this point. So he goes out and he stumbles across this art showing that's showing like all these statues and paintings and all kinds of artwork that deal in this bunny mask thing. And then like he meets her and she's like telling a story about how it's all just like somebody that occupies his brain and her
right.
brain and stuff.
And
And
she
she
gave
makes
him
it out
money.
like it was yeah, like she makes it out like it was just like a weird fever dream as well. But then whenever she like is all like confused and gives him money instead of a business card and stuff, and she's like, "Call me" and all this stuff, like all of that, then it's like, oh wait, so it is real. So the whole book has you going back and forth, like, is this real or not? And
Right.
I don't
And then
know.
the story kind of ends where it pans back to the caves, and the shadowy woman is there, but it talks about that daughter dying. So
Yeah. Oh yeah,
what's
yeah. Because they go to the house at the end and they fall through the floor and find the caves because
right?
nobody knew the caves were there even
And
after all
her
that happened.
her
And that's
corpse
where
is
they find
there.
her corpse. Yeah.
Right. So who's the person in the art gallery? Or
I'm assuming
are
the
they
bunny
all
mask
dead? Who
girl, but
knows?
yeah. And
Anyways,
that was kind
I'll
of
be on the
twisted too. They're like, look how
yeah,
she cut their throats, and it's just like deli meat or something, you know.
right.
Just
Yeah. Yeah. And they refer to the bodies as being like leather because they haven't decomposed
hmm
in 14 years. Again, it was different. Would you say different?
yeah,
I
yeah. It
don't know.
was
I'm
different.
on I'm on the fence about it.
His Bandette series. Hmm. Yeah, it's not. I mean, yeah, like it's not bad, but like I don't know. It didn't. I don't know. It was good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was good. I
It
don't know.
wasn't
However you want to look at
captivating.
that.
It was just
Yeah.
it was a
Like
little
it almost seems like it would have
Twilight
been great
Zony.
as like yeah, like a one shot or
Yeah,
an anthology or something where the next story has
yeah.
nothing to do with this. Like that would be
They
more
totally
interesting than if it
yeah
continues.
they totally could have ended it with he meets the girl, and the girl says great things or whatever, and he seems to have closure on his PTSD, and then story pans to the girl's body at the bottom of the case. But now we're getting another issue, so who knows?
Do you
Yeah.
know? Do you
Yeah, if
know
they
if
do
the
like an
next issue is
anthology it'd
going to
be cool.
continue it or not? Do y'all have any idea?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Does it say to be continued
yeah,
specifically?
I think they give us a cover.
I mean, it does leave off in a way that it definitely seems to indicate that that there's something more to this.
Yeah, they do give us like a surveillance report, by the way, at the
Oh
end.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
I
which
didn't take time
again
to read
doesn't.
that though.
I'll say it doesn't tie into the story. It's just weird where another group of people, perhaps like police officers, have an encounter with the woman in the cave, the shadowy woman in the caves. But yeah, the stories will continue in July, talking about Tyler, who is the male social worker, and yeah, we are going to get it because this is the apparent cover. It will
Yeah.
continue with this man's story, and now as he begins to hear the voices that drove the father insane, the title or the main character of at least issue 1 is beginning to hear those same voices. Maybe I'll pick it
That'll
up.
be
I don't
interesting.
know. We'll see.
Huh.
We'll see what my wallet says.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how many other books are coming out that week as well.
Right. Right. If the last Ronin drops in on us or something, maybe I won't. Hold on. We'll see. But who knows if we're
Yeah.
getting Last Ronin 4.
Yeah. This week definitely seemed lighter than the past few have. There's one just severely off balance week out of the month right now where we're getting just tons and tons of hits in 1 week. I think that was last week or the week before, but like DOT,
Mhm.
Yeah.
something
Right.
that's killing the children, Nice House. Like there's just
Yeah.
a heavy week. But if that's it, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out early tonight. I'm a little
Yeah.
tired. I want to get to bed and get up and start my week kind of strong. I was off this weekend, so I'm sure there's a lot of damage control to do when I get back in the morning. That's how it goes. But y'all got anything else you want to throw out there?
I guess the only other book I read was Eve #2.
I heard
And,
great stuff about that.
It's all right. It has like this really cool artwork, right? Pretty good most of the time. It kind of struggles occasionally, like in the sequential department, though, and like some of the clarity stuff. One of the like, how cool is this? This single page splash, but you can't really tell anything that's going on in it. Like, all the colors kind of like bleed together, but it looks cool, you know. Like, I like the character designs and stuff. It's like sequentially, sometimes it feels like it skips a beat or something. And there's like some open-endedness to some of this stuff. Like, basically, like we found out in the first one, like she's been in this pod, like in frozen, like cryogenically frozen, I guess, but she's been doing like all this training on the island through like virtual reality. So in this issue, and then whenever it opens, like the whole world's basically underwater for the most part, and she has the skills she needs to save the planet and bring it back. But we don't know what that means. Well, in this one, we find out that her dad is like this genius scientist. Well, we kind of knew that part already, but that he's in space. So he's like living on this space station, and the Earth is pretty much destroyed. And so what he's doing, it appears to me, now they don't explicitly give you enough information to know exactly what they're doing here, but the way it's insinuated is that basically they figured out how they can grow trees in space, because if they try to grow them on the planet, they won't grow. But they need plants to like regenerate the oxygen and stuff. So basically it seems like what they're trying to do is grow these trees in space and get them big enough that they can survive the atmosphere and start recirculating the oxygen and stuff. And so that seems to be their salvation, but all the people 8 billion people died on the planet, you know. So it's just these scientists trying to bring the planet back to life. And so it appears that they're going to drop these pods, but then they need the girl to go and get them and actually like plant them so they can take root and start to grow into even bigger trees or something. And so that's kind of like the crux of this whole issue, is her starting her journey with this bear. And like, that was cool, right? Like all of that stuff is kind of cool. Like, let's go on a journey, because it's a post-apocalyptic world. Not everybody's going to be dead. So there's going to be other people, right? I don't know if y'all can even see this.
7 secrets.
She's wandering along, and guess what? There's still other people alive on the planet. So you got this post-apocalyptic world. That's plenty. That's all I needed. That's good. That's great. Okay, but what if
What if?
What if when the polar ice caps melted, there was like some kind of crazy virus that just like makes you absolutely ravenous, and you just want to eat everything and anything you can find, and so you look like a zombie, you act like a zombie, you move like a zombie, you want to eat people, and you're quick about it. Like, it's just a little too much. I don't quite need all of that. Why are there all these zombie things? It's already a crazy post-apocalyptic world. It feels a lot like We Live, but with some extra stuff in there that just makes it a little too convoluted.
Isn't there a zombie title that's actually being released from Skybound? Like, they don't necessarily need to go down that road again, do they?
Right?
I thought they played that one out.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not a bad book by any means. Like, it's not like trash or anything, but it's the sequentials aren't quite strong enough for the storytelling. And then once you add in like this whole like zombie thing, like you're starting to get into too much going on for somebody who's not that great at sequentials already, you know? So we'll see how long I stick around, but like it's got great covers and the general premise is pretty solid. And I like the interior artwork style. Some of the paneling and stuff like doesn't quite connect all the dots that I need it to.
Sounds like a story James Cameron would get into, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, you got anything else?
No, man, I'm good. I haven't. I did want to read Proctor Valley Road and Wonder Woman. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I will. So everything that I've been through, we discussed thoroughly. So it's been a pretty good night, boys.
Yeah. After some connection issues and just worked out. Ended up just having to restart everything, which sucked. But I appreciate you guys hopping on. I definitely always have a good time. Thank you, everybody in the chat who hung out with us. And be sure to check out everyone's channels. All three of us, I'm sure, have content dropping tomorrow. Chris, I'm sure, is going to unbox something. Ryan, I'm sure, is going to talk about something. And
Damn it.
And Mark's got something in the can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Exo Manowar, so
Do it. I've got a major. I had like 7 packages show up at one time that were all ordered at different times. And I finally opened them up. It was it was fun. It was great to unbox them. A lot of great covers in there, and really rounding off the completionist side of me for collecting John Jang art. So there's only one of his covers left that I don't have yet, which I could pull the trigger and buy if I wanted to, but I'm having more fun not having all of them now. Now there's just that one, you know. I'm like, no, do I want to buy it yet?
Wait for con season to open up.
That'll be even more expensive. But I appreciate it, everybody. Y'all all have a great night, and sub everybody up. And until next time, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.